one thing that when the CrossFit announced that they were doing, you know, the changes, and it was literally 10 o'clock at night, and I was sitting in there and I was like, I felt like a reporter, like that just got the inside scoop. And I saw it on Instagram. Susan said they posted this is the new thing. There's going to be 30 people, and immediately I thought, oh, Zach George, you know, he's qualified, but where is he? So you kind of do a little bit of investigating immediately, and then I was like, Susan was like, you need to do a vlog on that, like, straight away. And I was like, I need to do it now. So I literally set up the studio, like the lights and stuff like that, and then like I was up till like 1 o'clock editing it and got it out, and I was like, it's had like quite a lot of views.
Okay, nice.
Things like that. What I suppose it's quite annoying and frustrating is about the vlogs is the ones that I put a lot of effort into, and like, you know, getting the cameras right and the cutting, and like there's a lot of kind of like creativity from whatever my level allows at this point. But when I do like stuff like the Mitch Adams like update and the CrossFit update, it's literally like me talking for 5 minutes, throw it into Adobe Premiere Pro, edit it all together within like 40 minutes, upload it, and that whole process takes like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then that gets the most views.
Yeah.
Like, that's annoying.
Tell you what, that is something that I've seen happen a lot. It's something that I noticed on just my Instagram. It was, you can design a workout, you can think of 10 exercises to help pelvic tilts and hip shifts and all this expert stuff, but then you can put up one photo of someone in hot pants or yourself topless, and it will get more likes. Guaranteed.
It's brutal, isn't it? Like,
tell you what, it's something that I talk about a lot, and I can't decide at which point because I see it as a scale, and there's a point where it becomes at a deficit to the industry to some extent, because it's already a rather, it's not unregulated. There are qualifications, and but there's no buy-in. There's no buy-in for people that want to set up a social media account and become quote unquote an influencer and earn money providing content that people will learn from. So if you know, in a way, they're a teacher, they're an educator, and there's no set way of doing that. And so what I see a lot is people saying like, follow this thing along with me, and I'm fine with that, whether it's progressions for up to 1 to 2 months. It's so risky because you might not know the full risks of that. I've seen people do it a lot with quite significant things like flexibility programs or booty building programs, improving quite complex movements. And you've just got to trust that your content reaches the right people, and that the wrong people for it should know.
Some of it's thought-provoking to an extent, and I think as it starts to grow, you know, when you look at people's accounts that are quite big in this field, and they've got loads of comments like, would I be able to handle, you know, the rough ride? I put one post up on Reddit, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like, what is going off there? Like, that's a poisonous place to be. Like,
fantastic.
Like, oh my word! I was like, if it's like that on there, like, I just don't want to be there. Like,
Reddit's weird, and I think I know why it's different is because it's user led. So every subreddit is led by more users. So there's no official administrators, and I know that some YouTube channels or some YouTube comment sections, they are monitored, but there are administrators as well to monitor what could be abuse or what could be anything else. And I guess it's up to the subreddit itself to determine what's good and what's bad. And you could have a whole load of things on there. I'm not fully sure on this, but that's how I've seen it. It seems to be led by the people within that subreddit, which is kind of lethal, because that's kind of leaving a load of school children up to teach themselves.
I was surprised at some of the responses. Like, I'd put the Mitch Adams thing in a CrossFit group on there, because I thought, well, it's appropriate and relevant content, and someone's doing a nice thing, and you want to try and share that information with as many people as possible, because it's 10,000 burpees, it's a crazy challenge, he's doing it for the NHS, all of that good stuff. And I'd actually contacted Mitch and got his permission to do that video before I actually went ahead and did the video, because he thought it was a good idea to, you know, promote it from a different sort of stream as well. And then I put it on there, and then there were some people that were like, "Oh, this is just a look at me event, this and that, the other," and they were just being like quite rude and offensive. And I was like, at first I was kind of like, "Well, yeah, it is a look at me event. That's exactly what it is." Yeah. And they were like, "Yeah, you're self-promoting on the back of it." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I am to an extent." And but you know, he's got links in that description box, so of course I'm self-promoting. And yes, it is a look at me event. That's what it is.
It can be
raising money for the NHS.
Yeah, it's not mutually exclusive. Every time Rich Froning posts something on Instagram of him topless during a workout, and he knows that if he attaches an agenda with that, something he wants to promote, for example, a charity, he is self-promoting and, you know, using that, his success essentially, to push another agenda, which the intent of which could be very, very good. And that's what Mitch Adams did. He knows he has a following. He knows he has the physical ability and the capacity to do some insane challenges. So why not blend that together and do it for a greater cause?
I don't really see a problem with that, because at the end of the day, it's just people trying to, that's not a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? Particularly if there's a good cause within that, you know, mixture as well. Like, you know, he's raising money, £10,000 for the NHS, which is a great thing to do. And I mean, I couldn't even imagine doing 10,000 burpees, because it's just far beyond probably my capabilities. But
I don't think I've done that in my life. In terms of motivation, I'm not sure if you wanted to go down this line, but I did a video on motivation on my Instagram where I outlined 3 things, and they're 3 things that help me, but they don't help everyone. So as we've said before, a lot of the content that we put out is anecdotal.
Yes.
And it's what might have worked for more clients, but it's never going to be universal. You always think, like, to motivate yourself, how do these people who are training in their garages or whatever 24/7 alone anyway, how do they motivate themselves? And a lot of it's accountability. So if you do have, and I'm not saying to people get a coach, because I am a coach and that would just be self-serving, but get a coach.
Yeah, honestly, like, hand on heart, I would agree with you, because it does give you a little bit of accountability, like by having someone to be answering to an extent. You know, maybe you could put it into better words than me.
Well, no, I agree. It is. You're answerable to someone. But also you abandon decisions for yourself. And this is something I talked about in the motivation video, is like, people cluster decisions. There was some research done in a supermarket of why some sauce brands weren't selling as well as this other one when they have such a massive range. And it's because people don't like too many decisions, and people mainly look in groups of kind of 3s or 6s when they're selecting something. And so when you start your day and you're in quarantine or something and you're training, and then you have all these options, I fancy doing legs today. So do I fancy deadlift? So I'm not sure, because I know I've got this Zoom workout later on in the week with someone else. So will that fatigue me too much? And then they think, how long do I want it? Do I want to hit it hard? Will this make me up for tomorrow? Actually, this isn't my weakness. Should I be, all these questions. And they may be a split second, but these decisions are made for you by a coach. And within the session notes that they should be offering toward you, they should be offering every detail of intent, kind of progress aims that you would be trying to decide for yourself. And that
do you think that just thinking about that a little bit more and maybe diving deeper into that, decision making can become quite tiring, and decision making fatigue when it comes to deciding, because we have to make decisions all day, every day, about lots of different things. Like, you have to decide what to wear, you have to decide, all sorts of different things. But when those decisions get removed for you, it just makes things a little bit simpler and easier. Like, what time shall I train today? That's a decision. What time am I going to train today?
Yeah.
9, 10, I've got this on, I'm training at 9. Remove the decision. That's what time I'm training. Is it, but then you've got to think about, is that realistic for me as an individual? Can I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and train? I would like to, that's what I would like to do. But it comes with sort of nutrition as well. Like, obviously we're not walk into a shop. That's why they strategically place all the chocolate at the tills, because you're so fatigued about making probably about 50 to 100 decisions on what you're going to eat for the week. And, am I going to get that brand or that brand? Am I going to choose the original sauce, or which one am I? So there's lots of different decisions. And then by the time you get at the end, just give me a pack of,
whatever.
I'll just take that.
It's easy because people will naturally go for the easy way. They'll go for the easy route, and that's not a bad thing as long as you make the easy things the right things.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the best way to make the easy things the right things is for have other people make those decisions for you in many ways, which is why classes work so well, why PT essentially works so well, because there's someone there making sure that you're there at that time.
Yeah.
And also, like, you make a decision to have a PT or a session or whatever next week based on the person and how you feel now. And it's impossible to know how you'll feel in a week, but you got to keep yourself accountable, and that's very difficult.
Yeah.
So having that external source really helps. And you're right about decision making fatigue. Like, can you imagine if you had the same set of clothes ironed and cleaned every day that you know you're going to wear? There's no issue, as you said.
That's what Mark Zuckerberg does.
Yes.
He has the same T-shirt every day, so he doesn't have to. He can remove that decision-making process out of his life and concentrate his energy on bigger.
And it's a good point. I say this a lot because I try to have a routine, and I know other people have really good routines, far better than mine. But anyone who doesn't like routine, I say the routine isn't boring in it. Well, routine is relatively boring in itself, but routine isn't boring as a kind of a life structure, because what routine allows is for your focus and energy and then to be put in other places better spent. So there's no point in wasting time, and routine allows you to not waste any of that time or any energy, where that energy can be put to something more fulfilling. That's why you do it. And so I think training and motivation should go along with that.
Definitely. I mean, it's something that you could lend that thought process to a lot of different aspects of your life, like planning your work week, thinking about what, you're going to be eating for that week, or the training that you're going to be doing, or the people that you're going to be seeing, and that all of these things influence and shapes you. And so what's the short term, and bringing the goals into that equation as well, like the short term goal, like what do I want to achieve today or this week? Medium term goals, what do I want to be achieving in 2 to 3, 4 weeks time, or whatever that micro, meso, macro scale looks like to you in whatever domain it is, whether it's nutrition, whether it's life planning, whether it's finances, there's all these different tiers or pillars that cover these sort of bases. So, and all lend itself to another. When you think about the 3 key pillars, and there's something I remember from years ago, I don't even know where I got it from, but it's health, wealth, and relationships. Those are the 3 kind of primary pillars that will, and when you think about health, it's mental health and physical health, and that those are important aspects. So that nutrition could be in there, fitness is obviously in there as well, but mindfulness is in there. So from a health perspective, and then wealth is, we need finances to operate, but do we feel not necessarily financial, but are we wealthy with how we feel about things? And then relationships, wife, daughter, friends, close friends, long distance friends, relationships, and they all blend in to one another. Maybe I've just gone down a rabbit hole there, but
no, that's a foundation of a good life. When you say health, wealth, and relationships, immediately you could go down a different rabbit hole. That's quite dark, but then it's basically your immediate circle. Are they people that you're happy to be around? As you said, with wealth, are you first off financially okay just to survive and support the immediate circle around you? And then the health is, I think, it's not even being happy, it's being content. There's nothing that is getting in your way to pursue the wealth and the relationships. And then whether that could be obesity or it could be depression. And
I think you kind of monitor it and say to yourself, because you don't need to be as rich as Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, to happy about your wealth. That doesn't bring having lots of money is not necessarily going to bring you happiness. But there is a minimum requirement where you need to feed yourself and put a roof over your head. There's costs involved in that, and you could be happy there. I've kind of always had the thought process that it's, as long as you've got those 2 things covered, and that's all you ever really need. That's the basics. You can then do anything you want to thereafter. that's the foundation, you know, and with relationships as well, you know, and they're all fluid, you know, they all change, you know, it changes over, you know, you can get more, you know, you can have better relationships at a period of time, and then you might fall out with someone, or, you know, that relationship's kind of gone, or you might get loads of money one year or lose money, or, you know.
It fluctuates, and it's circumstantial as well, for sure.
I suppose it's just trying to pluck these different thought processes that maybe create, you know, super successful athletes. But when you sort of analyze an athlete or a successful athlete, it must be quite a difficult place up there for them. Like, you know, because they're effectively salespeople. You know, like they've got to perform to do well, to gain sponsorships, and then that pressure comes into them as well. You know, with maybe they've got a sponsorship with Nike or Adidas or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's maybe it's going down a different route here, but you can almost, although it's not right, understand why like cyclists would all take in, you know, doping, because like they've got sponsorships, they need to win races. Lance Armstrong's doing it. If I'm going to win and be successful, I need to do that. And if you're a bodybuilder, you're like, well, I'm not going to get, you know, massive unless I take steroids. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I think it's definitely, and that's leading down the whole mindset route. But when you're looking at the some Eastern European countries in Olympic weightlifting, when they're talking about doping, a lot of them say, why wouldn't you do it? It's a cultural thing. Like if you become an athlete and you have the chance to be the best in the world, and you can really, really cement that by taking performance enhancing drugs and working the system, they're like, they're looking at us Brits and thinking, well, you've never won anything. Why are you having a go at us when we're the ones that are proven to, when we're winning? It's a weird mindset. It's like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? And our thing is, well, we wouldn't because it's cheating. And they go, well, is it cheating if everyone's doing it? Technically, it still is, but then it's also like, but we're the ones winning the medals. There's the proof's in the pudding there. And I guess that's the same whether it's with performance enhancing drugs or with your routine or with the sacrifices you put in terms of what you eat and the not drinking or not socializing.
Yeah.
Like people go, why don't you socialize? Why don't you drink or whatever? And the answers of people that win, I mean, I don't, but the people that are winners, it's like, well, I'm the one that's winning stuff. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and this could be thought-provoking content, because this is the thing. Like, I think we're always like pushed, as particularly in the fitness industry, we're pushed to have that thought process and agree that like, steroids are just bad, right? And you shouldn't do them. It's a really bad thing to do. And I'm like I've never done them, right? And the reason why I've never done them is because like, well, why do I need to do them? But like, I have thought about it.
Yeah,
like I have thought about it, and I'll tell you when I've thought about it, and it's about honesty and transparency. It's like, well, I'm not going to the games. I'm not going to go to the CrossFit Games, but I'm going to the Rain Hills like years ago. Then why not? Like, I don't even know where to get them from or anything like that. And I'm like, well, why don't you just take some and get stronger?
Yeah.
Who's going to test you? Like, who cares?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's bizarre. I really like that, because it's if someone comes up to you and they're saying, you know, that they train really hard and they have this structure and you've got massive admiration for them, and then someone else says like, oh, but they're on steroids. It's not like they've suddenly not done all the work.
Exactly. Like
2 seconds later, you're like, oh, I don't really care, if I'm honest. You don't care. The bit where it becomes an issue is when you're kind of infringing on someone else's potential or their liberties. So like you're kind of signed into a contract, which is essentially a competition where everyone's claiming to be clean, and that someone has lost out on 100 grand in prize money because you decided to tweak a system that they didn't.
Yeah. like in the CrossFit Games, there's an element of that where you think to yourself, well, that is unfair because you've taken the experience away from, somebody that was supposed to go on the podium and all that sort of stuff. And like, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're an athlete to that level, you need to be responsible and you need to play by the rules. And that's a fair way of going about it. And I get that. Like, I totally get that. But like, I suppose it's like, like I wouldn't say I necessarily would do it. I think there's consequences, if you do it, there's repercussions, physically, but from a health perspective, I'm like, well, why would I not give it a go? Like, what, if it's going to get me, abs and a bigger shoulders and arms,
Well, that's your target, So, that's literally what you were saying. You were saying, like, in this time, you found motivation in concentrating on the mirror muscles, and if the taking of any kind of steroid, which can be taken in moderation, not everyone who's taking them is just some juiced up kind of roidal erect penis looking thing. Like, they are just some of them just look a little bit better than they would have done. And so if that falls in line with your targets and it's not infringing upon anyone else's success, then it's fine. It's fine.
And I think it kind of plays into, we were talking earlier about like what sells, muscles and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, well, there's part of me that wants to look that good. When you see physiques, male and female, like he looks good. Like when, you took your top off at Rain Hills and you ripped, you're like, well, it looks good, right? Of course it looks good. And what does that do? That builds self-confidence. And you look at your physique and like, I feel good about myself.
Yeah, for sure.
So there is an element of, but maybe people are dismissing the benefits of that to say, Instagram versus reality sort of thing. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, but if I've done something good and I'm proud of it, then why not chase that as a goal? Why does that be a negative goal to chase? Just to work out and look good. And to be clear, I'm not going to take steroids to achieve that. But from that perspective,
I really like that point that you made about the Instagram versus reality thing and chasing that goal, because ever since almost time began with humans, we have chased something greater than ourselves, whether that's, God and religion, or whether now we're looking at people that we see online and we're pursuing that. And here's one of the only issues I have with this kind of almost, there's almost like a slandering culture toward people that do have these unrealistic body expectations. But let's say those bodies are real, and let's say they are realistic, then what is wrong with trying to pursue something better, even if you can't attain it? What's wrong on the first point is that it might make people feel very insecure and bad when they realize how far away it is or that it's not attainable. But you flip that round slightly and you say, I know that there's a 1% chance I'm going to achieve that physique that I'm looking toward, but the reason I like it is because I am pursuing something better than myself, not to that goal. And I think that's where people go wrong with it. They'll see I see Hugh Jackman. I love Hugh Jackman. I see him on the cover of Men's Health as Wolverine, and I'm like, God, how good would it be to look like that? Very unlikely. He's a completely different physique in terms of leverages, different body fat. He's been set up for that photo shoot. It's unlikely day to day I'm going to look like that. But there's a ton of enjoyment that you can find in trying to pursue that.
Yeah, the journey itself can be an enjoyable experience to go through, and the dieting and the figuring it out and understanding the foods that you need to eat. That whole journey, can be a positive one, and I think it just boils down to how do we respond to things like this is a work related thing, but again it leads into the way that we view and position things. Like if you see someone that's got abs, or a girl that's got like a nice body and all that sort of stuff, like you can think to yourself, "Oh, you know, that's ridiculous. Nobody can ever achieve that." And then that's you done. And that's you basically saying that it's impossible. So you're not even going to attempt to try it, because if you don't attempt to try it, then you've not failed.
Yes.
Fear of failure that stops people from even starting, like with the vlog, like, you know, there was an element of me being scared about going on camera and put myself out there, but it's like, you've just got to get on with it.
Yes.
Don't, like, you are going to fail. Like the first time you do it, it's going to be rubbish, and you are going to get people criticizing you. But what it does, it helps shape. You know, there's a journey, right? And I'm still on that journey. I'm going to continue to be on that journey with all aspects. So if you see someone that's got, you know, good physique, male or female, and you aspire to look like that, then go on that journey. You know, it's like, you know, you can make it a good journey and a positive thing.
Yes.
And it doesn't need to be a negative thing.
I can dedicate to Olympic weightlifting or just gymnastics endeavors, whether it's getting their first bar muscle up, increasing their snatch, improving their split jerk, handstand walking, whatever. And so they'll do tailored stuff. And because that's more bespoke, and I write it just towards them, that's a little bit more expensive. But that's a tiered pricing progression depending on how many days a week it is.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, 2 days will be cheaper than 5 days a week of those. And so I thought, and the aim with the two products, the tiered generalized one and then the bespoke one, is to create as not just online programming, because a lot of people just do online programming and some people are so good at it, but to create online coaching, because there's a difference. You can program for someone and not coach. And so every day has pretty detailed session notes about the intent of each task or each day. And then the week has actually an overall intent on it as well. And so you kind of get in the brief that you would at the beginning of a class or a PT, but then also you get access to a community Facebook group and also a big red coach's number for feedback pretty much constantly.
Yeah.
Which has been tiring for myself when you take on a lot.
Yeah.
The more people I'm able to use within Big Red, the easier it gets. And so and hybrid performance method do this really well. Sorry if I'm rambling here.
No, just
hybrid performance method do this very well. They've got a ton of programs, whether that's like hybrid push, hybrid WOD, hybrid powerlifting, or weightlifting, but their online community page has kind of people posting videos for feedback, or they have like one-to-one feedback that people can have through WhatsApp, etc. But the education on there is stunning. But
sometimes a bigger team with there's
it's definitely
that there's obviously, you know, the bigger the machine, the more
well,
you're just, you know, on your own doing the coaching and the kind of marketing stuff behind it.
And that really helps having a few people. But it's like it's about offering, you can program the best program in the world that covers everything really intricately, but unless that kind of more 24-hour blocked feedback is there, it's very unlikely you're going to improve as much as someone who's got a coach. So it's not so much the programming, it's how you're doing it. So for example, if I were to give you a workout that was, I wrote this for someone this week, 30 double unders, 9 hang squat cleans that are kind of slightly heavier than you'd expect, and then 12 bar facing burpees. And that was for 4 rounds. And then I put specifically, make the double, and then there's a rest in between each round, but make the double unders broken, firstly. That's your aim. This second aim with a hang squat clean is it was just concentrating on bar parts. It's not moving about all over the place. And then lastly, on the bar facing burpees, is each round they alternate between jumping up and then stepping up. You know, there's 2 different styles.
Yeah.
And so you can have that. I can give someone that workout, telling them to do those 4 rounds with a minute rest in between, and they'll do it. And they'll probably get fitter and they'll do all right. But give someone that workout with those instructions, alternating the footwork, making the double unders broken, and thinking about something in the hang squat cleans, and suddenly they get they don't get necessarily fitter, but they get better.
Yeah, there's extra kind of instructions to parameters in place to make sure that you've got that in your mind, then to kind of dive in a bit deeper into the workout and saying, right, that's the objective.
For sure. And I think alongside that, it's important to note objectives. And this is where I love programming, is that the objective doesn't come from the time you get or the score you get. Because suddenly the time doesn't matter. It's like, did I alternate those styles? Did I get all of it unbroken? And were my hang squat cleans consistent in footwork and bar path every single rep? And you could get a slower time than half the people in, for example, a class, but they might not have completed the objectives.
Yeah.
And I think that's the wonderful thing about coached practice versus the racing that we always see.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm actually thinking about that myself now. When I'm writing a program, right, it's all well and good just finding, I like the look of that. But then it's like, what's the key objectives within that? What do you want to get from that workout? Particularly right now, what, when you're on your own, what do you want to accomplish out of that? Because it's less about the time, as you say. Like, I don't want to get, I would rather take it at a pace where I'm able to get 40 double unders unbroken. I'd rather get better at barbell cycling and understanding the transition between that and how my body's feeling. So it's almost like triathlon training, isn't it? Like the transitions and stuff like that. So I'm gonna have to shoot, mate, because I've
got one more point, if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, no, definitely.
And this is something that I thought of at the beginning of the video, like not even a title, but a cool topic. And that's the issue of, in CrossFit, that I don't think many people bring up. It's effectiveness versus efficiency. And the effectiveness is essentially what you're doing. Like, is what you're doing effective for your task? So it's your programming. And then the efficiency is the way you do it. And that's essentially your coaching. So a lot of people in CrossFit have good effectiveness because they're always doing the right things and they're always doing the right exercises because it's CrossFit. And then the efficiency part is where a lot of people lose out on. And so I program for nearly everyone. It's mainly only once a week where I say, this is a hell for leather thing. You just go, you just try to get the best time possible, as fast as form allows. And the rest of it is concentrating on the efficiency part. Which is how they're doing it. So they can save themselves for when they need to perform. Because everyone can perform once, but it might not look pretty. So you've got to make sure that you can look pretty 100% of the time. Yeah. And then when you need to perform, that's when you'll pull it out. And I think people switch around the wrong way. So I always look at effectiveness and efficiency and then try to blend them perfectly. But that's all I wanted to add.
Definitely, mate. It's been brilliant. Well, I think what to do as well, if you can, will help me build a good thumbnail, is if you just send me a logo and any kind of narrative around that I can put into the description box as well, just so when people land on it and it's all there, all the information, and then I can put in here, I can put your logo and all that sort of stuff.
Thank you, mate.
So short, but it's actually, I've got a lot from this, which has been really useful. And genuinely, like, I felt like there's been a bit of a new way of thinking when I'm approaching particularly the last points that you just said, like doing things effectively as opposed to efficiently.
The other way around.
The other way around, sorry. Efficiently as opposed to, so thinking about like just dialing things in a little bit more, like, you're going to script a workout, or is it going to be sort of further instructions that I would give myself to accomplish within that,
how versus what you're doing.
Because definitely beneficial.
I'm glad. I'd be willing to do this again, mate, if you want to, because we just talked for an hour and a bit, and I'm sure I really enjoy it.
I think that what we should do is build a theme around
per couple of weeks or something.
Like, if we're going to do it regularly, which I want to do, I think that we could maybe do it around one specific topic.
Absolutely.
And then dive deep into that specific topic, because it would be good. I think that, you know, because what I'm not doing and I don't want to do is I don't want to be, not say I don't want to be, like, I'm not doing the online coaching thing. Like, that's not like the route that I want to go down.
No.
But that's the route, that's the world that you're in. So I think it benefits you and I to promote in your circles and me to promote in my circles too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that that'll be good to do, to, you know, on the back of this, you know, if you can, I don't know whether you will or you won't, but there's going to be people that, there's people watching my vlogs from like Brazil and like.
Oh, I'll be posting it up on my social media for sure, because it's.
And if I get some subscribers on the back of it, then it's mutually beneficial for you and I, because I want watch time and views, and you want, you know, people to sign up for programs.
It's just exposure, but it's also letting people know.
We're here.
Yeah. It's nice to know it, and it's nice to know that something that you work so hard towards is known by people. Yeah. Because you won't release something unless you think it's, firstly, you're proud of it, but secondly, unless you think it's worth sharing. And that's the same with my programming. Like, I want to put it out there because I think it's worth people knowing about how I work. Otherwise, I would be like really insecure about it.
Yeah, totally. So I'll work away at getting this to, I don't know, you know, I'm happy to put something up that's an hour long, so there will be people that will watch it, and I think it's interesting information. There'll be sort of chunks that I might just think, you know, maybe we've covered that, you know, but I'll condense it down and get it done. And I think that it'd be good to, you know, if we say commit to like a certain day, or not, maybe not necessarily a certain day, but like once a week, talking about the routine thing. But if we was to say, this is the topic this week, you know, we want to discuss this, and then we can kind of go dive deep into it, because this information that we're sharing here, someone will get benefit from. Because I would watch something like this and think, there's little hacks in there, little nuances that maybe people aren't thinking about. And if they watch that and start to become better, then that's great. You know, that's fantastic, that they'll get something from it. That's the key thing.
Yeah, and you always remember that one thing you took away from it, and it means a lot to some people like that.
It's valuable. It's valuable to them.